not do that. That's not the point. But the point is that I do want to make is that there has to be a sense of connection to, you can call it God, you can call it the divine force, you can call it nature, you can call it the unified field if you're a scientist. Whatever you want to call it, you have to have a sense of connection. The word sin means disconnection. Sin is actually Spanish for without. Sin samia, without seeds. Anybody hear that term? Sin means without. Sin is when you're separated, when you're disconnected from that unified field. And so our sense of disconnection leads to mental and emotional issues, which leads to physical problems. I'm not going to proselytize. I'm just going to say that SMEP is the way you want to look at the multi-dimensions of health. But from a physical perspective, that's all I'm going to say about this now. I wish I had more time to talk about it because it is one of my favorite things to talk about. As you know, I've talked on George. Have you heard me talk about this on George Norrie? I try to talk about it whenever I can because it's extremely important. I never want to be the kind of healthcare professional that just says, just take this vitamin. Right. It's much more than that. As important as nutrients are, it's much more than that. So anyway, from the physical perspective, just like you have a triangle of disease, you have a fourfold square of health. Nutriate, respirate, move, and rest. So let's take my favorite one, which is rest. We have this crazy culture where if you're resting, you're somehow lazy, right? Somehow you're just not doing the right thing if you're resting. Guess what? God wants you to rest because we heal when we rest. We grow when we rest. We recover when we rest. When we rest, we tell our body that it's okay to use resources to repair, to regenerate. Why do you think you feel like resting when you're sick? Because it's your body's wisdom telling you to rest. When you're sick, your body knows that it's time to lay down and rest so we can recover. We grow when we sleep. This is so cool. The divine force likes us to rest. However, that rest has to occur within a context of movement. That movement and rest go together. I call it exerrest. You can't just rest all the time. In fact, we don't even like to rest all the time. You ever been stuck in bed all day? I don't feel so good. You want to get up and you want to move around. That is not a pleasant thing to be stuck in bed all day. We like to rest, but we like it after we move. The best kind of rest is after a workout. The best kind of rest is after a hike. The best kind of rest is after a hard day's work. That's the best rest there is. Sitting in bed all day, that's not the best rest, but resting after you exercise is perfect because the exercise stimulates your body to grow, and then the rest allows your body to grow. You know, when you go to the gym, your body doesn't grow. When you're working out with weights, your muscles aren't growing. It's the next day when you're sitting on your butt watching TV. That's when your muscles grow. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes athletes make is they overtrain. Maybe you guys have experienced this. You decide you're going to lose weight, lose a bunch of weight, or you're going to get back in shape, and you work out every day, and you're really sore. That's not good. That's not getting you stronger, and that's not getting you healthier. You have to take days off. In the skincare business, some of you guys know, anybody know about exfoliation on your skin? You know, women know about exfoliation. One of the biggest mistakes women make with their skin, I've been in the skincare business for many years, formulating and selling skincare products. One of the biggest mistakes people make with their skin is they over-exfoliate. They overstimulate, and they end up with a big red mess on their skin. And they say, oh, I'm never going to exfoliate again. No, that's not the right answer. The answer is you need more time off between exfoliation. You need to make sure that you have a rest period to leverage the power, the energy that you get from the movement, from the stimulation. So the combination of movement and rest is critical for recovery. In fact, if you are going to get healthier, it might be counterproductive if you're in a wheelchair, or if you have arthritis, or if you're stooped over, you're in pain. It may be counterproductive, but one of the best things you could do is move your body. If you have arthritis and you can't move your joints, the best thing you could do is force yourself to move. If you are 200 pounds overweight and you can't go to the gym, you can't exercise, you can't get on an exercise bike, walk up the stairs. Walk up one step. Take one step. One of the best exercises you could do if you're really overweight and you're just completely out of shape and you can't exercise is stand up out of a sitting position. And then sit back down again and stand up and sit down. Do it 3 times. It's a great exercise. Any kind of movement communicates, sends a message to the body that it needs to grow. This is how unbelievable the body is. It's intelligent. It will listen to the signals. It's like you took your little Ford Fusion and took it off-roading in the mountains or off in the dirt roads and off-road and do whatever you do when you're going off-road and tear it up on the beach, and you come home and park your Ford Fusion in the garage, and the next day you go into the garage and your Ford Fusion is a Chevy Escalade. You'd be like, oh my God, what happened? It would, right? It would be an amazing thing. A miracle has occurred. This miracle happens inside the body. This miracle happens in the body. We work out our body and it gets stronger. And it doesn't matter how sick you are. It doesn't matter how broken down you are. It doesn't matter how overweight you are. It doesn't matter how sick you are. If you move your body will get the signals to recover. And it will happen during the rest phase. Take advantage of the rest phase. In fact, the rest phase, many of the diseases that we have, in fact, all of the diseases, chronic, long-term degenerative diseases we have, are a sign that the body is in distress. The sign that the body is in distress. We have this word that we throw around all the time. I love how we throw around words and we don't even think about what they mean. One of the words that we throw around all the time, we don't even think about what it means, is the word stress, right? You hear it all the time. Oh, you're stressing too much. Don't stress too much. Stress is a killer. Hear that all the time. Well, guess what? There is no stress. There's only distress and eustress. Eustress meaning EU stress. And distress. Distress is stress that causes us to break down. Eustress, what does the word EU, the prefix EU mean? Does anybody know? It's Greek for good. Good stress. There's distress, which is bad stress, and there's eustress. In fact, stress, if it's done correctly, is your friend. I remember I was doing this talk about 10 years ago on stress, and I was in 7-Eleven before I did the talk, and I went to, I was looking through magazines, and right on the cover of Newsweek magazine, stress is your friend. Right on the cover of Newsweek magazine. And what the article was about was the idea that if you understand how to leverage stress, how to leverage movement, you could actually encourage growth. How do you leverage stress? By balancing it out with rest. By making sure you're stressing a little and resting a lot. The diseases we have are from stressing, moving, activity, dynamism, way out of balance with rest. The body loves to move, and the body loves to rest. I think this is the coolest thing about the divine force, is that it does its best healing work when we're relaxed. God wants you in a hot tub. A hot tub is where you do your best relaxing work. How many of you guys have high blood pressure or on antihypertensives? Know anybody on antihypertensives? Hypertension or high blood pressure, if you go to the doctor, they'll tell you that it's called essential hypertension. Anybody hear the term essential hypertension? Essential hypertension, when doctors don't know what causes something, they say it's essential. Essential means it's just part of you. It's just part of your nature. That's just who you are. You got high blood pressure. 80 million Americans have this condition called essential hypertension. Well, I'm going to tell you what causes essential hypertension right now. It's distress. And we all make jokes about it. People will say, oh, it made my blood pressure go up. Oh, I was so anxious, my blood pressure went up. Oh, I was so scared, my blood pressure went up. We make jokes about it. It's right there. It's hidden in plain sight. If it's hidden in plain sight, like a lot of things are hidden in plain sight. Hypertension is a manifestation of a body in distress. Don't believe me? Prove it to yourself. And I don't want you to believe anything I said. First of all, did I say anything complicated or did it make sense in this last hour almost that we talked? No, it makes perfect sense. Anything medical? Anything you need a doctor for? No, it's just perfect common sense. So I don't want you to believe me though. I don't like people to believe me. I want you to do what Ronald Reagan said, right? What did he say? Say it louder. Trust yet verify. Exactly. I love that. I wasn't a big Ronald Reagan fan, but I love that saying. Trust yet verify. So listen to what I'm saying and then check it out for yourself. Ma'am, what was your name? Deborah. So you have hypertension, essential hypertension, right?
Yes, since I was 40 and 60, I've been on 4 blood pressure.
I'm going to tell you how to magically lower that blood pressure faster than with any prescription drug, with no doctor, with no toxicity, with no insurance, with no waiting in line at the pharmacy, from the comfort of your own bathroom. You ready? Ready? You guys want to know? Anybody else on high blood pressure? Know anybody on high blood pressure medicine or with hypertension? Okay, this is what you do. You go into your bathroom. You turn on the faucet in the bathtub, hot water and cold water. You make a nice warm bath, maybe a little bit hot, and you go sit in the bathtub. Actually, before you sit in the bathtub, you take your blood pressure. And say, I don't know, maybe it's, what is your blood pressure, like 130/90 or something like that. I don't know, whatever your blood pressure is. Somewhere in that.
Yeah, like 140s/80.
All right, 140/80, okay. You take your blood, on 4 meds, right? You take your blood pressure and then go sit in the bathtub for 10 minutes. Get out of the bathtub and take your blood pressure again. I am guaranteeing you 100% that your blood pressure will drop just by sitting in the bathtub. Now, it will go up again. But the bathtub will lower your blood pressure faster than any blood pressure medicine will lower it, with no toxicity, with no side effects, not only not shortening your life, but adding years to your life with no doctors. Did your doctor ever, when was the last time a doctor ever wrote a prescription for Deborah? I want you to sit in a bath two times a day, BID, bathtub. By the way, you ever notice how your prescription's in Latin? You think your doctor speaks Latin? No, your doctor doesn't speak. He wants you to think he's a magical wizard with a little hat on, and he's like Paracelsus making his little herbs and the little mortar and pestle. They do it so you don't understand what's happening. You should be able, your doctor's supposed to be teaching you, not talking in some mystery gobbledygook language that you don't understand. So, hot bath, you understand. You sit in a bathtub, 10 minutes, and you get out and your blood pressure drops. Why? Because your blood pressure went up, because your body's contracted, because you're tense, because you've gone through that triangle of disease and your cortisol is spiked, because your blood sugar is off and your digestive system is off. How dare a doctor not write a prescription for a bathtub? We don't need Obamacare or national health care insurance. We need national hot tub insurance, where every American gets a hot tub in their backyard. If you vote for me and forget your insurance, you're going to get a hot tub in your backyard on the tax dollar. That's my kind of insurance. You know, I was talking about this earlier today, one of the classic signs of distress, and by the way, this is marked by the third point in the triangle of disease. Remember our third point in the triangle of disease? One of the classic signs of distress, of a spiked adrenal system, of a freaked out body, because it's basically what we're talking, your body's freaked out, is infertility. Do you know we have an infertility epidemic? Anybody know this? Infertility epidemic is due to distress, because when your body is in this condition of emergency, it's not going to let you make a baby. Because you may be dumb enough to want a baby, but your body's brilliant. And so you go to the doctor and he says, oh, we can fix that. We'll give you a bunch of hormones and now you'll have quintuplets. We'll just crank you up with hormones. If you know somebody who can't make a baby and they want to make a baby before they try, have them sit in a bathtub. Why do you think they talk about hot tubs like that? You know what I'm saying? It's because you activate the fertility response, the libido response. You ever notice how you get great ideas in the shower? Yeah, anybody ever notice you get great ideas in the shower? Why is that? Because when you're in distress, the blood goes from the front of your brain to the back of your brain where your fear center is. It's called your reptilian brain. And then you go sit in the hot shower, and not only does your blood pressure drop, not only does your libido increase, but your blood goes to the front of your brain where you get your great ideas. Hot shower fights cancer. A hot shower anti-ages. A hot shower lowers blood pressure. All because of our triangle of disease. You ever notice how when you're in the shower, they could be beating on that door and you don't want to get out. You're looking for something else to wash because you don't want to leave the hot shower. You find parts that you thought that you washed and you could think you know exactly what I'm saying, right? Because for the first time in the whole day, your blood pressure has dropped. You're fighting diseases. This is how simple health is, you guys. So, yes, ma'am.
Cure for diabetes.
I'll tell you this. So simple, it's tragic how simple that is. I'll tell you in a second. And we'll take some questions here in just a moment. We're almost winding down. Respirate. Under conditions of poor oxygen or accumulation of carbon dioxide, they're both important. You notice I didn't say oxygen, I said respirate because both cycles of respiration are important. The inhaling is important and the exhaling is important. In fact, the exhaling is even more important than the inhaling because it's the exhaling where we relax. Like when you're scared, you go, ah, and then you find out it's all a big joke, you go, ah, right? You get scared, you go, ah, that's the inhale. Then you find it's a big joke, ah, that's the exhale. In fact, if you just go, like that, you will relax. Just like that, you'll lower your blood pressure. Take your blood pressure again. Take your blood pressure and then go a few times, and you'll notice your blood pressure drops. If you can't sleep at night, just go Another way, by the way, to activate the relaxation response is to listen to your breathing. Just listen to it. You don't do anything. Just listen to it. In fact, just listening to any bodily sounds, listening to your pulse will do it. Listening to any sounds, listening to a metronome will do it. Helps if the sound is rhythmic. So respiration is also very important, and again, you could test this out with a blood pressure cuff. And then nutrition is obviously key. I call nutrition is a very complex subject. I break up nutrition into what I call the 8 chapters of good nutrition. Don't have time to go into all of them now. I have a YouTube video called The 8 Chapters of Good Nutrition. If you're interested in some of these ideas, Google Pharmacist Ben, and you'll get a million YouTubes that I've done. And if you Google Pharmacist Ben and the 8 Chapters of Good Nutrition, you'll get my talk on the 8 chapters of good nutrition, which are protein, fats, carbohydrates, fiber, water, and then vitamins, minerals, and trace nutrients. The most important, the proteins and fats and carbohydrates we get plenty of. The ones we don't get enough of are the micronutrients, the small nutrients, and that's where longevity comes in. Longevity supplies you with the micronutrients. Not only do we supply you with these ideas, we supply you with the micronutrients. They're part of what we call the Healthy Start Pack. And the Healthy Start Pack is a simple, no-brainer way to incorporate the micronutrients to support the macronutrients, the vitamins and minerals and trace nutrients to support the protein, fats, and carbohydrates that we all get plenty of. This is a very unusual thing that's happened here in the last 200 years. 200 years ago, when with the advent of industrialization, we figured out how to separate protein and fats and carbohydrates from vitamins and minerals. In the old days, foods used to have everything together. What do we call foods that have the macronutrients together with the micronutrients? Who said that? Very good. That's awesome. Awesome. That's exactly what we call them. You're so smart. What do we call foods that have the micronutrients separated from the macronutrients? Processed foods or junk foods, exactly. That's very good. You guys are great. We call them processed foods and junk foods. Food processing, which started 200 years ago and has become grown to the point today where 80 to 90% of the foods we eat are processed foods, is really the process of separating macronutrients from micronutrients. Now, why do you think food companies would want to separate the vitamins and the minerals away from the proteins and the fats and the carbohydrates? This man is smart. This man is smart. That's very good. That's exactly why. How'd you know that? That's exactly why. How'd you know that? Are you a farmer? Oh, okay. Okay.
I heard about this since I was a kid.
It's exactly why. Very good. Nobody ever knows that. When you take the vitamins and minerals out of a food, even the bugs won't eat the stuff. Right? Right? And that's what we're living on. That's we're subsisting on foods that bacteria won't even eat. And then we wonder why we're sick. It extends the shelf life. It allows for processing. It allows for shipping. It allows for keeping it on the shelf for a long period of time. Yes, it got so bad when they first started doing it, they actually did it completely, and people got these weird diseases, these weird neurological problems because they didn't have the vitamins and they didn't have the minerals. So what they did was then they threw a little bit of the vitamins and the minerals back in, and they called it fortified. And that's where your fortified cereals come in. And they just put a little smattering of the nutrients back in that they took out from the natural food, and they tell you, oh, it's fortified. Wonder Bread. Remember Wonder Bread? They don't make that anymore. But Wonder Bread was the classic example, right?
You wonder if it's bread.
You wonder if it's bread. That's good. That's good. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that. You wonder if it's bread. But they don't make it anymore, so I can't tell a joke, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, Wonder Bread was the classic example. The bread was so white that the bugs wouldn't eat it, but people would get these weird diseases, so they threw some nutrients in it, and they called it a fortified bread, and they said it grew strong bodies, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's the thing about marketing. If a food has marketing associated with it, that's a food you don't want to eat, because the money is going to the marketing. If if there's a cartoon character, definitely don't eat that food. And if there's a song that they sing, forget it. Run. Don't come close. Because they don't sing songs about broccoli and grapes and apples. They sing songs about food that have lots of marketing associated with them because the money's going into the marketing, not into the food. So what you need to do is you need to, number one, make sure your foods have the micronutrients pulled in with the macronutrients, and make sure you're on a supplement program. This was Dr. Wallach's brilliant insight. He noticed when he was a kid that the animals were getting micronutrients and the people weren't, because the animals were worth more than the people, because that's how people were making their living, was on the animals. So he looked at what the puppies were getting, or what the cattle were getting, and what the sheep were getting, and he started using them himself, and he cured himself of ticks. He had a problem with ticks, and he went and looked what the goats were getting, or the rabbits were getting, I should say, and he started eating rabbit pellets for breakfast. And he writes about this in his book. He says he freaked out his parents, but his ticks went away because he was getting the micronutrients, and that's why he got into the whole micronutrient business, and that's what longevity is about. We sell rabbit pellets. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But the rabbit pellets are alfalfa. That's exactly right. And they're loaded with micronutrients, with iron and B vitamins. It's some of the healthiest stuff you could eat. So the point is that micronutrients with your macronutrients will replace what God put into the foods. The foods are supposed to be whole. The more processed food you're eating, which we're all eating processed foods, the more you need micronutrients. Not only that, but once you start giving yourself micronutrients, you will need less macronutrients, which is why people who start a nutritional supplement program, they get on the Healthy Start Pack, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the Beyond OsteoFX, the first thing that happens, even if you're healthy, the first thing that happens is you lose weight. And you eat less food because you're getting more bang for your buck, because the micronutrients are helping your body utilize the macronutrients. Jay and Cheryl and Rebecca can all tell you about the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the Healthy Start Pack, the Beyond OsteoFX. Our mission is to make it simple for you to nutriate, to make it simple for you to incorporate nutrition into your lifestyle. Now, you can go to the health food store on the internet and blah, 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 and do everything you want to, all the things that you need to do to get on a good nutritional supplement program. We took the brain damage out for you. You get your products delivered to you every month. It's all made and formulated by Dr. Wallach and people that Dr. Wallach authorizes. I use them myself. I've seen the results myself. I know the products and I trust the products. If you're interested, talk to Jay or talk to Cheryl, talk to Rebecca. And if you're interested in the business, we'd love to have you in the business as well. All right, so nutriate, respirate, move, and rest. All counteract the triangle of disease. It's as simple as that. Reverse the triangle of disease, you will get healthy. Now, you asked Deborah, right? Yes. Deborah asked a question about diabetes. So diabetes is the second point on the triangle of disease. Well, let's talk about the third point on the triangle of disease first. I kind of addressed it a little bit. The third point was the adrenal stress system and the thyroid. From there, you're dealing with the leaves. You understand what I'm saying? The heart, the liver, the bones, the brain, the nervous system, those are all the leaves on the tree. You don't fix the tree at the level of the leaf. You fix the tree at the level of the trunk and the root and the soil. That's the triangle. You understand what I'm saying? The leaves are your heart disease and your cancer and your autoimmune disease and your liver problems, etc. The soil and the root and the trunk are the triangle of disease. You don't fix the tree at the level of the leaf. You don't fix the body or the heart at the level of the heart. You fix it at the level of the triangle. You don't fix the dementia at the level of the leaves. You fix it at the level of the triangle. You understand what I'm saying? You always backtrack to the triangle. Remember, health is simple. This simplifies everything. You go back to the triangle. You go back to the triangle. Say it with me. You go back to the triangle. So you go back to the adrenal system. How? By lightening up, relaxing the body, making sure you're respirating, taking hot baths, mental and emotional strategies, gratefulness, being kind, feeling thankful, helping a vulnerable person. All of these activate the calming down system. It's, by the way, technically it's called the parasympathetic nervous system. This is why people say grace before they eat meals. This is why it's better to give than to receive. This is why in the Bible it says, love your neighbor as you love yourself, because when you love your neighbor, you're loving yourself. There's nothing magical about it. There's nothing mysterious about it. When you love your neighbor, you're activating your healing system. You're telling your body to stand down. You're telling your body it's safe. And that's really what it's about. It's telling your body it's safe. Hypertension is a sign that the body doesn't feel safe. When you tell the body it's safe by helping a vulnerable person, because when you're with a vulnerable person, you're not threatened. When you're with vulnerable people, you're safe. Do you understand this? How cool is that? By being with vulnerable people, by helping babies, by helping the elderly, by helping the sick, we tell the body we're safe. This is why it's so helpful to do all of these kind things. All of the virtues are so helpful for us. So activating the relaxation nervous system. Does anybody know what the relaxation nervous system is called, by the way? It's called, what is it? No, that's the opposite. That's the stress nervous system. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is everything I just said, as airy-fairy, Boulder, Colorado, hippy-dippy as it might sound, right, is really hardcore science. It's really the parasympathetic nervous system, just framed in terms that we can all relate to and that we can all understand. So you tell the body it's safe by oxygenating it, by being kind, by resting as much as you can rest, by taking hot baths, all of the things that make us feel calm and rested. It's not that hard, you guys. Making the body feel calm and rested. And then you asked about the second point in the triangle of disease, diabetes. It's just as easy. Nobody has diabetes because diabetes is a fraud. We are diabetes-ing. It's a verb, not a noun. Nominalization means making something into a noun that's a verb. Verbs are actions, right? An action is something you can do and not do, that you can stop and that you can start, that comes and goes. A noun is something you have. It's a person, place, or thing. It's always there. When you nominalize something, to nominalize means to make it into a noun, you take an action and turn it into a thing. This is a sneaky, dirty medical trick to make you think you have a disease. When I say there's no diabetes and there's diabetes-ing, it gives you power because now you have control over the verb. You can stop running or you can start running. You can stop eating or you can start eating. You can do something or not do it. The difference between a noun and a verb is control. Once you have a noun, you're stuck with it. It's there. You get a t-shirt and you get a little cap that says, I have diabetes, and you can start a foundation, and it's a permanent thing, and it's entrenched, and people make money off it, and it'll never go away. But if it's a verb, you can do it or not do it. Diabetes is a verb because it's a response that your body has to food. Did you guys hear that? Diabetes affects 100 million Americans. It is the biggest tragedy, health disease in the world because it's a verb. It's a diseasing. It's not a disease. It is a response to food. Do you get how powerful that is? It's an eating response. So you change the way you eat, you no longer have diabetes, period. Today, you can do it today. If you change the way you eat now, you won't have diabetes. And if you go out and eat that bag of corn chips tomorrow, you'll have diabetes again. It is as simple as that. Now, there's also nutrients that you can use that help support the body's ability to process sugar. We have a wonderful product called Sweeties, which is specifically designed for that. Another one called the Ultimate Niacin, which helps you do that. The nutrients help the body process sugar, and one of the reasons why people are diabetes-ing is because of this idea of separating the nutrients from the micronutrients from the macronutrients. So replacing those micronutrients is vital, and that's another thing that our Healthy Start Pack will do, as well as the Ultimate Selenium. That's another product that will help do that as well. So nobody has to have diabetes tomorrow. Any diabetics or diagnosed diabetics in this room? Tomorrow you do not have to have it anymore, and if your doctor has a problem with that, you tell him to call Pharmacist Ben. We will do a three-way call with you on the other line, and I'll explain to him what I just explained to you. Okay? And I'll do it right there. And I hate having to talk about doctors like this because I wish I could tell them to their face, but they won't talk to me. So if your doctor has any problem with anything I said here, you tell them to call me, and we'll do a three-way call with Deborah on the other line.
Makes sense because I was just tested for my nutrients recently.
Yes?
And they said they were surprised I was still alive because it was so low.
There you go. There you go. And I don't even believe in testing anyway, but the fact that you have blood sugar problems, I call diabetes dysglycemia. which means, you guys remember what that means? I erased it. Dysglycemia, 3 parts. Dys, what does that mean? Dys, what is it? Dysfunctional, messed up. Glyce, sugar. Emia, blood. Dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar. Once you stabilize your blood sugar, which is simply a reflection of eating, it's also a reflection, by the way, interestingly, of stress. So once you lighten up on the stress, you'll also lower your blood sugar and stabilize your blood sugar. Between eating behaviors, the first 2 points on the triangle of disease, the digestive system and the cortisol system, your diabetes will never be back if you do it correctly. Get on all the supplements I told you about, change the way you eat, make sure you're taking your hot baths, you're respirating, you're relaxing. You could change this hour that you were here, Deborah, could completely change your life. You could be a new woman tomorrow and have another 30 years. And anybody who understood what I said over the last hour, it's the same is true for you guys. Okay, and then the last piece of the last point in the triangle of disease is the digestive system. And anybody have any digestive health challenges? They're the worst, man. Oh my God, they're the worst. You don't want any other system. There's no good diseases, there's no good diseasings, but the digestive system is one system that you never want to go awry. Change the way you eat. One of the neat things about the Healthy Start Pack that we have is you'll eat less food. And guess what? I hate to break it to all of us here, because we're all in our 40s or 50s at least, right? Some young bloods in here. You look like a young blood over here, but with all us old folks, But for the most part, we're all in our 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s or whatever. Pushing 80. All right, man. You're looking good, bro. So listen, eating is a young man's game. When you're over 50, food is overrated. All right? So the less you eat, the longer you live. And if you have a digestive problem, it becomes extra important. The less you eat, the longer you live. The body's wise, and as we get older, our appetite will naturally become less and less, but nonetheless, we still eat way too much. Notice how only a couple bites are all you need if you want to be filled up. I'm not beating anybody up for food. I'm not a food guy, a foodie in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying if you're not healthy, this represents a powerful leverage point. Leverage means a little bit of work gives you a lot of results. And one of the most powerful leverage points, we've talked about a lot of leverage points here, but one of the most powerful leverage points is the foods we eat, or the foods we don't eat, I should say. The less we eat, the more power we'll have over our bodies. And absolutely, it's for everybody, absolutely, positively, 100%. Do you remember how this whole thing tumbles out of control? What did we say? At what level does this whole disease process begin? The very first step. The first step, though. Remember the first step? What? But what was it? Bacteria. The bacteria. Get on our nightly essence. And I'm not talking if you have a digestive issue. I'm talking about everybody. Get on our nightly essence. It's bacteria, probiotics in a capsule. It's the best probiotic supplement you'll ever use. And along with the Healthy Start Pack, I consider it to be our most important product. All right? So I've been talking now for an hour and 20 minutes. I hope you guys feel more powerful than you did before you walked into this room about your health, because health is simple. Don't let any doctor or medical model bamboozle you into thinking you're going to be on this drug for the rest of your life. Don't let any doctor prescribe a medicine for you just in case. There's no drugs that are good for you. There are no drugs that will get you better, but it doesn't really matter because we don't need drugs. It's as simple as breathing, making sure you're eating correctly, making sure you're on our longevity nutritional supplements, making sure you're addressing the spiritual, mental, and emotional aspects of health. It's all things that we can do ourselves because it is in the body's nature to heal. Thank you guys very much. God bless you. I hope I helped you. And I will stay as long as you need. If you have personal questions, I'm happy to answer all your questions. Yes, my dear.
Okay.
Yes. Deborah, was it? Tell me your name.
Patricia.
Patricia.
Okay. Come June.
Yes.
I will be with this problem of lymphedema.
How do you like that? We just talked about lymphedema in our last talk.
Oh, well, I missed that one.
I know, but it's funny.
I didn't even know I had
Well, let me tell you about lymphedema real quickly, okay?
Well, my whole body swells up.
Of course it does. It's
And-
lymphedema.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So what's your lymph, Patricia?
Pardon?
What's your lymph?
What's my lymph?
Yeah. I'm not picking on you. I'm just going to show you how the heck are you going to solve the problem if we don't know what it is, right? This is the dilemma we confront. Your doctor, instead of prescribing whatever he prescribed or telling you whatever he told you about the surgery you have to have or what medicine you need to be on, he should have told you what your lymph was so you could address the problem. The job of a healthcare professional is to get him out of the way so you can do your business on your own. So here's your lymph. This is a circle, right? For our purposes, we will call it the circulatory system. You've all heard that term, right? The circulatory system. The circulatory system is best known as your blood system, and blood travels through the circulatory system. It starts off in the heart. This is obviously a very simplistic diagram, and the heart pumps. Blood goes through the heart, and then it goes back around, and it goes back in the heart, and then it goes back around like this, right? Pump, and then circulates. All disease, no matter what that disease is, has some element of blood that's not moving correctly. I call it dirty blood. Blood that's clogged up, blood that's stagnant. Once the blood becomes stagnant, we get sick. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of the most interesting reasons is because as the blood is moving, it's generating an electrical charge. As fluids, as particles, the blood has particles in it, has cells in it, has proteins in it, has little particles in it. When particles move in fluid, they generate electricity. This is called fluid dynamics. It's hardcore science. The electrical charge is called a zeta potential, if you're a scientist and you want to know. So just so you don't think I'm making stuff up here, this is an electrical charge. Now the heart, the circulatory system for the blood is very fortunate because there's a pump in the center that pumps it around. However, there's another circulatory system that is tied in with the blood system. And this is another set of tubes. Exactly. It's called your lymphatic system. Yes. And it is tied in, wrapped around the blood system. They intermingle with each other, except for one issue. There's no heart to the lymphatic system. There's no pump. So it's got to move around without a pump. That's not easy. It's hard enough for the blood to do it with a pump. Now you have this other circulatory system that has no pump.
5 gallons of fluid.
Very good, okay? Now, the lymphatic system has hormones in it. It has new hormones in it that are going to be used. It has old hormones in it that have to be dumped out. It has fats in it. It has vitamins in it. And it has poisons in it, or toxins. It's your toxin eliminating system. It circulates around, and it's very important that it circulates. If it gets clogged up with poisons and toxins, it's not going to circulate. And when it does not circulate effectively, fluids begin to leak into tissues. In order for this whole thing to work efficiently, that fluids have to keep moving and moving and moving. When they start to slow down, things start to leak out. When fluids leak out into tissue, we call that, say it louder, edema. When the fluids that leak out of the lymph cause the edema, we call it lymphedema. That's exactly what you have. The reason you have lymphedema is because the lymph is not circulating properly. The reason the lymph is not circulating properly is because it's filled with poisons and toxins. When the lymph is filled with poisons and toxins, the lymph will begin to become sluggish, and accumulations will occur in concentrations of lymph that are called nodes. Who said that? Very good. How'd you know that? That's very good. Oh, you're there this morning. Okay, very good. Very good. We talked about that this morning. Right. When the lymph is not circulating properly because it's got dirt in it, okay, got crapola in it, it's loaded up with poisons and toxins, lymph is going to leak out, and even worse, you're going to get clogged up nodes. When you get clogged up nodes, this can lead to all kinds of problems because the clogged up nodes are clogged with toxins and poisons. So you get large concentrations of poisons in the nodes. Your main nodes are right here, and right here. And one of the biggest problems we have that are associated with lymph nodes, with toxic lymph nodes, are cancer. Cancer of the chest, i.e. breast and lungs, and cancer of the groin area, the prostate and the uterus. And you could even get cancer inside the lymph vessels. That's called lymphoma. Exactly, and it's all caused by lymph that's not moving correctly following accumulation of poisons and toxins. So your question should be, How the heck did those poison and toxins get into my lymph, and what can I do about it? We should all be asking about that. Well, that's a very good question. See, the lymph is a circle, right? There's no way for poison and toxins to get in except for one place, food. And right at the level of your intestine, there is a major entry point into the lymph. In fact, I forgot to say this, but there's also some lymphatic nodes right at the mouth area. Right in the top where the mouth meets the esophagus, there's a ring of lymph. You know what those are called? They're called, very good. You learned from this morning. They're called your tonsils. And kids sometimes will have such clogged up lymph that their nose and their mouth area will get so clogged they can't breathe. The nose will get so swollen it'll block off air, so they'll have to have their lymph removed. Instead of the smart thing is saying, why are my lymph so toxic? They'll take the whole node out. So the only way that the lymph becomes toxic is through the digestive system. So you, my dear, have to start working on what you're eating. And not only is that going to take care of your lymph, but because that's the first point on our triangle of disease, it will take care of everything else. Remember we said all disease begins at the level of the triangle? The triangle begins at the level of the digestive system. So no matter what your health challenge is, backtrack to the triangle. And when you're backtracking to the triangle, you start with the digestive system. The quickest way to do that is to fast for a day or two, okay? And you're going to feel great when you fast, by the way. And then do a food diary and write down everything you eat and how your body responds to that food, and then start eliminating foods. And if you want to pick some foods to eliminate right off the bat, you can do no better than starting by eliminating dairy. And then grains probably, and flour and processed foods after that. Sugar is definitely not a food that's in your interest to eat. And I know you're rolling your eyes over there, but I know what you're saying. It's hard because we're hardwired. Our brains are hardwired to go for sugar. Our bodies are evolutionarily designed to find sugar, and so it's very difficult. The best way to wean yourself off of sugar is to do more fiber and to do more protein. And after you eat sugar, and that includes bread and pasta and rice and potatoes and fruit juice, drink lots of Beyond Tangy Tangerine and drink lots of water to dilute your blood sugar, and then make sure you take your sweeties after all sweet meals or sugary meals or bready or starchy meals. Okay, so lymphedema is a digestive condition. That all makes sense how I did that? And not only will it help your lymphedema, it'll help everything else. Yes, ma'am?
Having had my tonsils out when I was about 7.
Me too. A lot of us in this room.
Am I more susceptible
Yes.
to that?
Yes, you're more susceptible to problems with your lymph, absolutely. It's not a death sentence, but yes, it's more something you want to concentrate more because you've lost part of that lymph system. The lymph fights diseases. There's these little cells inside the lymph that are actually scout cells, and they're looking around for bad guys to attack. Without a fully functioning lymph system, like you've had lymph nodes removed or tonsils removed, you're going to have less of those scout cells, and you're going to be less able to fight diseases. Yes, so that is a problem.
I'm thinking that what you're speaking has a lot to do with it too. That the words that's coming out of your mouth.
Have a lot to do with?
The throat, the tonsils, the nose and stuff. I mean, just what's coming out of your mouth. Are you
My mouth personally?
person being,
Or a person's mouth?
a person being
Yes.
speaking negative about things and that kind of thing. Toxic.
Hung by the tongue. You ever hear that book, Hung by the Tongue? You ever heard? Jesus said, I'm not proselytizing here, but in the Bible it says it's not what you eat that makes the difference. It's what comes out of your mouth. Not what you put in your mouth. It's what comes out of your mouth.
When you said that, about the mouth, we're eating because that's going in your mouth. It's also what
It's absolutely. Read Hung by the Tongue. You might like that. It's a really cool book. Yes.
What about the appendix?
Appendix. Love the appendix. You had your appendix taken out?
When I was
How many in this room? Probably more than one person in this room had their appendix. Back when I was a kid, even until very recently, they said, don't you worry about that silly little appendix. You don't need that. They used to call it a vestige. You know what a vestige means? Who knows what a vestige means? It means it's useless, basically. It's something from the old days. It's not, you don't need it anymore. There's things in your body you don't need, right? God just threw that in. We don't need that thing. Silly little thing. We'll take that out. Your appendix is a warehouse for bacteria. It spares probiotics. It stores probiotics for you. Right. So this is how cool is that, right? It's like extras. You got spare probiotics. This is why when your appendix bursts, it's so problematic because now you have all these bacteria that's supposed to be in your digestive system. Now they're all over your body. And it can be very serious if your appendix bursts. So they'll take it out. If it bursts, you don't have a choice. You have to have it out. But Without an appendix, you're at major risk for digestive health issues. You've probably had them since you were a kid, okay? Had to, because the probiotics live in the appendix. They're your spare probiotics. They replace the ones that die or need to be replaced in the gut. So if you had your appendix out, it becomes extra important to get on our nightly essence and to make sure you're eating fermented food and to be very, very careful with your digestive system. Fermented foods are foods that have bacteria in them. Kimchi, miso, tempeh, fermented beets, fermented carrots. There's a wonderful book called The Art of Fermentation that has wonderful recipes for making your own homemade fermented foods. Very easy to do. Sauerkraut. You guys all like sauerkraut, right? Wonderful fermented food. And you can make your own sauerkraut, chop up cabbage, throw some bacteria in there, cover it up, and let them sit and let the bacteria do their work. Okay? Cheese is a very problematic food. And we have a cheese that's probiotic rich, and that's a little bit better for you. But if you have any health challenges, be very careful with cheese. Yes? Kefir's great, but it's not as good as fermented veggies. Fermented veggies are really good because not only do you get the bacteria, but with fermented veggies, the bacteria act on the veggies to make the nutrients more accessible. So you get a real power food. Kefir is good, but it's still not as good as the fermented veggies. Fermented veggies are incredible. Yes?
Whenever I look at kefir, it's so loaded with sugar.
Well, that's because it's sour, and people don't like the taste, so they'll put sugar in it. Because fermented foods are sour. So to make up for American tastes, which tend to be really like sweet stuff, they put sugar in there. So you want unsweetened kefir for sure. Yes.
I've been told eating fermented food is counterproductive to healing your thyroid.
I can't help you with what you're told, but that's not true.
Okay.
So the trick to healing the thyroid is to work backwards in the triangle of disease, to go with your blood sugar system and your digestive system, and fermented foods are great for your digestive system.
What were the videos you said earlier?
My video, just Google Pharmacist Ben, and you'll get a zillion YouTubes, but the one I specifically was talking about is called The 8 Chapters of Good Nutrition. Yes, ma'am.
I had a doctor want to rip my gallbladder out about 7 years ago.
Don't let him do it.
I didn't.
Good for you.
I told him, I said, I want to go home and I'm going to cleanse it.
Yeah?
He looked at me like I was stupid. He says, well, we're going to set you up with the surgeon. I
Yeah,
said, "Oh,
we're going to set you up with a surgeon.
So I went home and did a week-long protocol, cleansed it, went back, had an ultrasound, absolutely nothing in it, and I'm still fine.
Praise God. That's beautiful. Don't let them take your gallbladder. You need the gallbladder. They love taking the gallbladder. By the way, I'm not implying anything here, but there's about $50,000 a gallbladder, per gallbladder. So there's a lot of money to be made in taking organs out. And I'm not blaming anybody. And I got to say, I have a lot of friends who are doctors. And for the most part, all my doctor friends and all doctors, they're well-meaning people. They're good people. But they've been hoodwinked too. They go to medical school and they get proselytized and entranced and hypnotized about the medical model. When I was in pharmacy school, we had a mandatory visit to Eli Lilly and Abbott Labs so that we could get the whole hypnotic propaganda. We had to get the whole trip about how important, and you know what else? We learned how dumb the public is. In medical school, it's even worse in medical school. And the doctors think the pharmacists are dumb. So not only do they think people are dumb, they think anybody who's not a doctor is dumb. They're trained that way. So it's not the doctor's fault. They're good people. They didn't get into the medical profession to hurt anybody. But they believe this stuff. And even though it's hidden in plain sight, the worst thing about them is that they tend to be arrogant and chauvinistic and not open-minded about this stuff. It's not all of them. It's not all of them. And that's really where it becomes a problem, is they're not going to come to my talk. They're not going to come listen to this. In fact, everything I told you today, if you got even 30% of what I told you today, you're smarter than your doctor about how your body works, about the common sense nature of your physical body. All right? So anyway, thank you guys very much. Do you have more questions? Okay.
Yeah, due to your urging on the radio, I did a fast for the first time in my life
Yeah.
about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And it's really
Amazing.
incredible.
Isn't it incredible?
Breathing better.
I love it.
Thanks.
I love it. You just stop eating. I know. You can drink water. Drink water. You don't want to put calories in your system. I hear that question all the time. Believe it or not, you hear that question. We don't know how to fast. You just stop eating. You could. It won't make a difference, but you don't need it. It won't matter either way. I was telling this story about Cassandra. Anybody know who Cassandra was in Greek mythology? Because when you tell me that story, it reminds me of this idea. Cassandra was about Greek mythology, how all the Greek gods represent some story, some moral. So one of my favorite Greek mythological stories is the story of Cassandra. Cassandra was punished by the gods to be able to know the truth, but nobody would believe her. And when you tell that story, that's how I feel sometimes. Like, it's so simple, it's so easy, but nobody believes it. I'm sure there's people on the radio, you guys are here, not present company excluded, but I'm sure there's people on the radio, oh, that dumb pharmacist again. I'm sick of that guy. He's just babbling on and on about fasting. What kind of hippie Boulder guy is this, talking about fasting and nutritional supplements? My doctor never told me that. I never heard that from my doctor. Why doesn't my doctor say that? That's how I feel sometimes. And when I hear you say stories, which I hear all the time, it's very it makes me feel like my job is worth it, and that I'm doing some good work. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
This is a dog story. I had a dog that had colitis, and the vet was going to give him a food that was going to probably kill him. It was loaded with the Fuchs.
Okay.
And
Nasty antiseptic,
I said,
antibiotic.
give me a label, and I will see if I'm going to feed this to my dog. And I called him back, and I said, are you kidding me? I wouldn't feed that to a rat that I wanted dead. He
Right.
says, well, you're not the first person. So I Googled, and I started looking. I fasted my dog for 3 days on water and love only, and I had perfectly formed stool with no blood.
That's beautiful. Beautiful story. Beautiful. Praise God. That's a beautiful story.
He died of cancer, but that was
Okay, well, that's you saved his life in the short term. Candida is and remember, all disease needs to be backtracked to the triangle of disease. Candida is a leaf. It's not in the triangle, it's the leaf. So with Candida, you backtrack. Candida is a type of yeast that loves sugar. So you work on the sugar system and you work on the digestive system. You eliminate sugar, you go zero sugar as best as you can, and you work on digestive health. We have yeast in our body. All of us have yeast in our body that are good yeast. Yeast and bacteria live in balance. The good bacteria, probiotics, fight off the yeast. Yeast and bacteria in nature fight each other. Do you guys ever hear, what is the most popular, the most famous antibiotic of all? Where does it come from? Yeast. Yeast make medicine to kill bacteria. Bacteria make medicine to kill yeast. They live in balance. But back to the triangle, when our probiotics are killed off or we don't have the right probiotics, the yeast overgrow. So make sure you're taking your nightly essence, focus on digestive health, use fermented foods, use things that improve the intestinal environment. By the way, fiber helps support probiotics, so make sure you're using fiber. All the things that we just talked about, backtrack to the triangle, especially digestion and sugar. A couple more questions. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Kombucha.
Kombucha is a type of fermented food. Great stuff.
Okay, and what about, eliminating sugar, so what?
As best as you can.
Yeah, so what about,
Fruit?
sugar, so what about like coconut, sugar?
Sugar is sugar.
Dates?
Sugar is sugar. Date sugar? Sugar is sugar.
No,
Small amounts.
yeah.
Tiny little pieces. You don't need the whole date. Chop it up and have a quarter date. Suck on it like a candy. You don't need a bowl of cherries. One cherry. Cherries have some good stuff in them. But just one cherry. Frozen cherries, suck them on like a candy. Take a banana, stick it in the freezer, chop it up into quarters, and have half a banana or a quarter of a banana. You don't need the whole banana. Limit fruits. They have good things in fruits. There's no doubt. They have good things, and the sugar in fruits is tied up with other nutrients, so it's a little easier for the body to process and handle. And there's the micronutrients are in the fruits, the ones that are missing, but you don't need them. Fruits today are not the same as the fruits that we ate 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago or 50,000 years ago. They're genetically modified to be super sweet. And not only that, but the medicine in a fruit tends to be bitter. So when farmers are doing their little genetic thing, I'm not talking about GMO, I'm talking about just the way farmers do hybridization and things. They select for the fruits that have less of the bitter stuff, which is the medicine, and more of the sugar stuff. So the bananas we eat today aren't the same bananas that we ate. Do you remember crab apples? You ever seen a crab apple? Those were the apples that we ate. You don't see crab apples at the grocery store, they're like this. There were no apples like this on the African savanna when our bodies were growing up. There were tiny little berries and tiny little apples. And fruits today have been modified over the course of thousands and thousands of years to be super duper sweet, especially over the last couple hundred years. So fruits have some good things in them. There's no doubt about it. But you got to be careful. You got to be respectful of fruits. Vegetables, go crazy. Unless you have a problem with vegetables, and some people do have a problem with things like tomatoes and eggplants and the nightshade vegetables, exactly. Yes? Sure.
One is, for probiotics, if you just ate, like, say, sauerkraut or cultured vegetables or something, would that give you enough of the broad spectrum of
Judgment call.
or do you
Judgment call.
try
Yeah, I would try. There's no way to know for sure. It's a judgment call. Go by how you feel. Yeah, go by how you feel.
And then could you be more specific about thyroid and like,
Yeah.
a step-by-step?
Step by step for the thyroid. Number one, work on everything we talked about with the digestive system, okay? Because it's the triangle of disease. Number two, stabilize your blood sugar system. Everything we talked about with the blood sugar system. Your sweeties, ultimate niacin, eliminate the sugar, eat less food. These are all things that will stabilize the blood sugar system. And three, calm the body down. Reduce anything that hypes you up, caffeine, for example, coffee, anything that's super stimulating for the body that spikes your cortisol. Cortisol is the kind of energy that you get where you're jittery. You know, it's energy, but it's not good energy. If you're feeling that kind of energy, you got to start to calm the body down. Your deep breathing techniques, hot tub relaxation, muscle relaxation techniques, mental and emotional strategies for relaxation, calm the body down. That's actually a great question. 3 points for hypothyroidism. Number one, work on digestive health. Eliminate problem foods, probiotics, more fiber. Number two, stabilize your blood sugar system, eliminate the sugar, use your sweeties and your ultimate niacin and your ultimate selenium supplements for your blood sugar. And number three, calm the body down. It will be very helpful for you to get on a nutritional supplement program like the Healthy Start Pack, because that will allow you to eat less food and will stabilize your digestive health.
And so if you were
And
on medication, then you would,
medication is useless.
so you would just like stop it?
I don't ever believe in stop. When you're with your doctor, and this is a really important point. When you're working with your doctor and you're in a doctor-patient relationship, you want to involve him in your decisions. You don't have to do what he says. Okay, I'm not telling you to take his orders. There's no doctor's orders, and you don't have to do what he says. But you want to involve him. You want to say, look, doc, it's not helping me. I don't want to take the drugs. I want to try some other strategies. Oh, no, you got to do. You know what? I'm going to find another doctor. Okay? Because you're not compelled to do what your doctor says, but it's only fair to involve him in your decisions if you're in a relationship with him. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to be in a relationship with him and then not do what he's saying. That's not fair to him, and you certainly don't want to let me. I would be ticked off if I'm working with a patient and somebody else came along and said, oh, don't do that, do this, because I'm trying to work with you, and I'm doing my best to work with you, and that's not fair to him. So you want to involve your doctor, but it's your right to wean yourself off the medication. It's not helping you anyway. Synthroid and thyroid medicine is one of the most notoriously ineffective of all the drugs, as anybody who's on thyroid medicine knows. They don't work.
And taking a thyroid from a pig or anything like that, you don't need any of that.
It's crazy. And here's the problem. Here's your thyroid, right? Your thyroid's messed up. The problem is at the level of the thyroid. Your doctor gives you thyroid hormone. That doesn't help your thyroid. It's still messed up. It's crazy. You got to fix the thyroid, not give thyroid hormone. How is this a solution to a messed up thyroid? It's not. And especially coming from a pig and coming from a cow. The problem, it's hidden in plain sight, you guys. The problem is here, fixing the thyroid. What I told you is going to fix the thyroid so it'll make its own hormone. Okay? And now there's another thing called Hashimoto's thyroid, which you may have heard of, which is an autoimmune disease of the thyroid, and that's also a digestive problem. So working on the digestion, all points lead to the triangle of disease, no matter what your health challenge is. Just simplify.
When you say fiber, what are you talking about?
Lots of ways. Veggies are fiber. That's the best source. Personally, what I do is I grind up flax seeds, and I just do a couple tablespoons of flax seeds and put them in my smoothie. Chia seeds also. Grind them up, though, so the fibers are... Grains are a problem. I don't like saying no, but they're a problem food. They're a problem food. It's not in your interest. All right, you guys, I got to motivate. Thank you very much. Listen to me on Coast to Coast. I hope I helped you. Call George if I'm on the air. I'd love to talk to you. Take care, everybody. All right, thank you. Oh. Thank you.
I drink a lot of milk.
Oh,